Thank you for tuning in to The Real Tea with T3. My name is Tisha Harris, and I'm going to be your host today. I'm also the team leader of Texas Trio Team, and we're going to go around and introduce everybody. So who are you, and what keeps you busy these days?
I'm Michelle Duty, and I'm on the Texas Trio Team.
I'm Deanna Kenisell, and I'm a realtor, a single mom. Also have a company, Big Hearted Babes, and I'm working on a venue on my property. Staying real busy.
So you have quite an extensive background and history that has got you to this point. And so I would love to dive into Big Hearted Babes. What is it, and how are you helping people with that?
Sure. So I started Big Hearted Babes in 2009. I got my degree in music business, which a lot of people don't even know that that's a thing. First, I got it in commercial music, and then I transferred after 2 years to a 4-year college in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and actually got my degree in music business. So I started out in artist management, and then I went into being on the road. So I went on the road for 7 to 8 years with George Strait, and for 2 of those years, Dirk Bentley was out working. He was opening for 2 years in a row. So I got to know him. We became friends, and he had this charity event that he did. He had done 1 year and hadn't really anybody paid put a lot of work. I mean, people worked on it. I don't want to say that, but not year round kind of thing, right? And then we had also gone to Memphis, and we were in the venue where the Memphis Grizzlies played. And one of the guys when we're on the road, we use our production office as like their locker rooms. And so we turn them into like an office and bring in all of our equipment and stuff just for the day. And so one of the Memphis Grizzlies came in and said that he did a charity event every year, and it was a fashion show, and that he was interested in this year, like adding music to it. He just kind of sat down. I didn't know him, and he was just like, "What do you think of this?" And I was like, "Oh, I think that's a great idea." He was like, "I was kind of thinking that like Carrie Underwood girl that just like won American Idol would be great, because she's kind of like gone and done a makeover, from winning Idol. Like she, just once they win, they look totally different."
Right.
And I was like, "That's a great idea. When is this? I'd love to help." And it was like in 2 weeks. And I came back home and I was like, these people really want to do good, and they want to help, and they want to raise money for good causes. They have no clue what all goes into it, And so that had happened. And so it kind of got my wheels turning, and then Dirks had this event, and I got my wheels turning. So I kind of sat down and I was like, what if I started a company and all I did was produce charity events for celebrities, and they got to put their name on it, and then I would work on it all year round and get sponsors and market it and sell tickets and the whole 9 yards, and really truly treat it like a real event, and not just, sometimes they're just kind of an afterthought. And he was like, let's do it. And so we were able to, the first year, doing his event, which was Miles and Music for Kids, which was a Harley ride that started at a Harley dealership, and then we got we planned the routes and got all the escorts and police and all that, made sure it was a safe ride. And then it would end in a concert location. And many times it wasn't like a set-up venue. Like Riverfront Park is just a park, and we would put fencing and bring in porta potties and bring in somebody to do all the beverages and like the whole 9 yards. Like I tell everybody, I did everything from porta potties to advertising. Like if it was out there, then I had to make sure it was there. And we were able the first year to cut expenses by 2/3 and triple the net proceeds. And after that, he was like, well, let's do this. And we went to 9 different cities across the country, from Seattle to Columbus to Dallas, trying to think, Atlanta. And we did a lot of different places. But every year for 10 years, we did it in Nashville. So it was always in Nashville, and then we would go to another place. We'd pick 1 or 2 that year that we would add on. And so I love to say that giving was contagious, because I really didn't advertise for my company. He would invite artists to come and play for his event, and then they were like, well, this is really cool. I want to do this too. And he was like, well, this is who did it. And so they just decided they wanted their event. So we did Lady Antebellum. They, for like CMA Fest, which was also fanfare, they did like their big thing out on the road was ping pong. And so we did an event called Ping Pong and Songs. And it was a ping pong tournament during the CMA Fest. So that was a lot of fun. And Little Big Town came and played. And, they would just get different artists that would come and like play ping pong with them because that's what they traveled with a ping pong table, and during the day when they're trying to kill time they would play ping pong. We've done cornhole tournaments, lots of golf tournaments, a whole lot of golf tournaments, but they pretty much pick what charity is important to them. For Dirks, it was children's hospitals, so we partnered up with Children's Miracle Network, and whatever town we were in, it was the children's hospital in that town. So he felt like that was his way of like giving back to his fans and donating money to a good cause. We do one that is for Music Cares, which is the charity that's connected with the Grammys, and they help mainly like any kind of musicians. I don't know if you remember, I think it was probably, maybe 2009, 2010, there was a big flood in Nashville, and a lot of the musicians lost like all their instruments and storage and stuff like that. So they help with that, but they also help with any kind of addiction or insurance. Health insurance is sometimes something that not all musicians have unless you're playing with a really, really big, artist kind of thing. And so if they end up with, a terminal illness or one that, requires a lot, like a cancer that they can treat, but it costs a lot of money and they don't have health insurance, then Music Care steps in and helps cover a lot of those bills.
Holy cow.
That was a lot.
I mean, that is such a wild journey. And I mean, like, it's really cool to sit with you. And like the past couple months that I've got to, learn about you and sit next to you, like you have an incredible story. And what makes it even better is my teammate was like, you grew up together.
Yes.
So like
lots of history.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
6th grade.
Yep.
6th grade.
I mean, like very thick and like best friends and all the highs, all the lows.
Yeah. And so, you can come from anywhere and anything and then like have that friendship for such a long time. And, you got to be super proud of your friend, like to be able to do all those things that you're talking about.
Well, and vice versa. I mean, like she took a different path, one that I would have loved to have gone on, actually. I mean, you look back all these years later and when I start talking about, people are like, oh my goodness, what have you done? And I have great stories. And there were so many pinch me moments, like where my life kind of went full circle of dreaming it as a little kid and like standing in the same place years later, seeing that I achieved it. So yes, those things were cool. But also, and Michelle knows this, like my dream to always like have a family and be a mom and like all those things were always there too, but my career just always kind of took a front seat to that, whereas she was able to kind of do the things on the family side that I always dreamt of doing that I haven't really got to do till just recently as well. So, I'm proud of her for being able to do all the things that she wanted to do as well, even though they didn't look the same as mine.
100%. That is so cool. I mean, that's amazing. Like sometimes you go in a completely different path in life and then like you dissolve, but you guys have stuck it out and you get to enjoy each other's journeys.
Yeah. And there was a time where we still kept in contact, but through Facebook and stuff like that, and not as much as we do now. But it was really cool to see how, like, once we were back living in the same area, how it just picked up like no time had passed, right? And those are the friendships where, you're not like, oh, I haven't heard from her forever. What's wrong with her? It's not like that. It's like, oh, we know she's busy. She's on her path. And then as soon as you're back together again, it's like you just pick up where you left off. And those are the sweetest ones, those are special.
That is awesome. And what's even kind of funnier is like Michelle isn't the biggest country music fan like ever. And so I'm sitting here and you're naming these names. And I'm like, what?
Well,
you go, girl.
I was trying to remember her name.
Kendra was too. She's sitting over there like.
Well, there's a lot of things about us where we don't have the same taste. Like probably growing up, I feel like we had more similar interests. But I mean, there are things that we don't see eye to eye on at all. And we that's what's so special about our friendship is that we know those differences and we still can see the value of our friendship. And I really wish that that could be more of an example to more people. I feel like that's what we're missing nowadays.
I think it used to be something that you could honor that other person and just not overlook it, but just like not make that a definition of what your friendship and your relationship is. Whereas now it's like you're here or here. And so it's quite commendable that you guys can like keep pushing on and live on the memories and create new ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. We were in the same Walmart zone, is what I call it, growing up. And it was a complete surprise that we were going to end up in the same Walmart zone again here in Brenham.
All these years later.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was, I guess you would call that meant to be.
I agree.
Yeah. It was one of the things that helped me make the decision to move here. I mean, my parents were already here, and this is kind of where we came for holidays and things like that. And then when 2020 happened, and then knowing that they were truly going to be here and like this is where they were retiring kind of thing, I was like, oh, yeah, it's not just my parents that I would know, which is huge. And I came here so that my son would be able to have time with them. And what better way than to be so close to one another as opposed to 2 hours away. My brother's kids are much older and they got all that extra time, and I thought, well, if anything were to happen, I want my son to be able to say that he has this kind of the same memories that my brother's boys did, with at least, not as much time. So
right. And you are still like highly active and doing things for the community and doing things for business and doing things for real estate. But when you go from this lifestyle that you had that was really high demand, high profile clients, you're doing all of that. Do you struggle with like living in a normal day-to-day life now?
Sometimes I stay very busy. I have tried to, I kind of realized that I stayed so busy with business because I didn't really have that family that I wanted, so I wanted to fill that void. And then I really kind of, when I turned 37, my mom and my grandma sat me down, her mom, and said, you've always wanted to be a mom. Both of my grandmothers had their fourth child as surprises at like 41. So I didn't really feel like I was running out of time. But they were like, you might want to start thinking about this. So then I really had to go, okay, I haven't found anybody. Do I want to tackle this, as trying to be a single mom? So they call them single mom by choice is what I'm called.
I love that.
I think it's more of like single mom by circumstance. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I made a choice to do it. But I think there's a lot of single moms even who had a partner that chose to do it, kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm so happy I did it. But it was a very long journey. A lot of failed IVF attempts. I think like 13 rounds of fertility treatments that were a failure. But it led me ultimately to adoption, which I love. And we have a beautiful story, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it worked out exactly the way it was supposed to. But in all of that, how you're like, you pray to God and you kind of like barter with him, but you don't advise, and it doesn't work that way. But I really had to dig deep and like figure, you're going soul searching. You're figuring out why is this not working and what does this mean and what path do I need to be taken? And I realized that I did fill all of that time with work, because, I had the time. And so I promised, like, if he blessed me with a family, that I would make sure that I filled it with family time, and that, not that work comes second, which it does, but I mean, my clients are really important to me, but my family now is the priority, and I work so that I can have the family, right, kind of thing. But I had to really recognize that was the situation. And I probably didn't have a partner because I spent so much time working. So
she's always been driven, and you still are. I mean, you haven't even begun your next.
Right. I like to keep a lot of plates spinning, but as a single mom, you kind of have to, right? Because if the market's down, then at least I've got events. And, if the world shuts down and we didn't have events, then we were still selling, right? We were still selling real estate, thank God. And so I like to have a lot of projects because I'm the only one I can depend on. And so yeah, I'm always trying to think of ways of turning this into a business or making this a business, or what opportunity can I use to, connections I can make, or, what can I do? My brain's always spinning on businesses, and I'm like, oh, I just wish I had a whole staff that could be like, run with this. This would be a great dating app and a dating franchise. And this is a great idea. And this is, I'm always got them, but I don't have the bank account nor the manpower to get it all done.
So your newest venture, though, you want to talk about that?
So I purposely, and Michelle helped with this, and trying to find my property here in town, wanted something that had enough space where I could either build on it or there was already, something there that I could turn into. So I've been working on turning a barn and a shop into a small event space on my property. Just, try to make money off your land kind of deal. And it's been quite an undertaking, just trying to find contractors that you can trust and things like that. My dad's a fix-it, and he's always been able to do everything. So it's really hard to, see your parents get older and not be able to do as much as they used to. It's been heartbreaking. And so trying to find contractors around here has been really difficult, but getting closer and closer every day. And so it'll probably hold, I'm hoping, about 70 people. So it'll be small events, micro weddings, like that kind of stuff. Do you know what a micro wedding is?
Yeah. And I'm just like, this is great. Like, I mean, you're just like, not like a Pandora's box, but you're like a Pandora's box.
Kind of like an onion. Just keep peeling.
Yeah. Wow. So that's totally going to be keeping you busy for a while, and something new and exciting to look forward to. So whenever you, can we dive into like the adoption process? Sure. And talking about that, like that pivotal role that, you've stepped into this and how it's impacted your life.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I actually wish I would have done it sooner, but I wouldn't have, who I have. But I do definitely encourage any women who want to be a mom, whether you're in a relationship or not, to, pray about adoption. I didn't want it to ever feel like it was a plan B. And that was, I think, one of the biggest prayers that I learned through the whole journey was when I stopped, and because I was really confused, because I kind of always thought, because of the Bible, oh, he knows the desires of my heart. Like, why is this not happening? Why did he put the desire here if he didn't plan on making me a mom? Like, I don't understand. And it wasn't until I stopped and said, make the desires of my heart match the desires you have for me, that my whole world changed. Because I wasn't making sure that my heart was mirroring what he wanted for me. And so I just prayed that prayer because I didn't want it to ever feel like I had just walked away from being able to give birth to a child. Because I was the one as a little girl taking my baby to the church with, my diaper bag and diapers and going to the bathroom and pretending to change her diaper. And I wanted to be pregnant and barefoot and breastfeed. Like, I wanted the whole experience. I wanted a home birth because that's what I'd seen growing up in church. And those were strong women to me, whether they were working or not. They were homeschooling, 6 kids and driving around a van that would break down around the corner. And those women were so strong to me, And so I wanted that so bad. And, but at the same time, I didn't want to feel like, I didn't want that tug to always be there, that yearning. So I really prayed, Lord, change the desires of my heart to match what your plans are for me. And I mean, I couldn't give birth to a better kid. I mean, like, he is the kid that God had planned for me. I mean, no doubt about it. I feel like all the time that I gave birth to him. So I'm so blessed. So I definitely encourage any woman who feels that desire to pray, to match your heart's desires to what God has planned for you, but to search that and see. I had no idea. I grew up with families that had fostered. I didn't know that fostering to adopt was even a thing. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that they helped, with daycare and covered, expenses. So like as a single mom, or even looking at what my options were, I was like, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this? I can't pay for daycare for a kid that's not mine. Like, I didn't know that was all covered, Mm-hmm. And so it was another teacher that my sister-in-law worked with who started going down that road. And she came to me and said, hey, a friend of mine's doing this, maybe talk to her. And I mean, I got licensed back in, it was 2015, like in a month. Like, I took my classes so fast, they got me through it, and they were waiting on my certificate from the fire marshal for checking my house, and as soon as that came through, I had a placement. Like, that's how fast it happened.
So I want to kind of go backwards for a second. Like, you did a lot of soul searching and had conversations with God. What was that like? Like, as soon as you got raw with it, was it a pretty quick turnaround that you started seeing like signs and synchronicities of things in your life?
Doors opening for sure. Like, somebody I didn't know but was friends with my sister, like, that was huge. Now, I can say there was lots of heartbreak before that. I mean, as you can imagine, 13 failed fertility treatments. I also included 4 miscarriages, 1 at 13 weeks that I gave birth to in my bathtub, but it was terrible. And every time my mom would say, I don't think you're grieving. And yes, I agree. I was grieving in my own privacy, of course. But also, it was one of those things where I always knew that God had a plan. So I was like, I don't know how much I'm supposed to be grieving this, because I know he's going to make me a mom. Like, I knew he would. I had no idea how.
Yeah.
And so that was the soul searching of like, okay, do I need to keep trying this? Or if he wants to, I don't care how he makes me a mom. I just wanted a child to love and to take care of. I wanted to be a family. And so to me, again, seeing it in church, like I had friends that were adopted. So to me, I feel like we're all adopted. I feel like God has, we're all adopted through Christ. And so I don't see it any different, So that part wasn't hard, because I see families as families. It was more so just, I did not want to feel like I was still yearning for the experience of being pregnant, kind of thing. That I did not want. And I think I went through so much loss of being pregnant and having the morning sickness 4 times in a row, and, not having a child to show for it, that I was like, okay, been there, done that, I'm ready to move on, kind of thing. But it did take prayer and like me really wanting to make sure I was moving past that before moving on to adoption. And so that definitely was a process. But I had my last miscarriage December of 2015, and I had my first placement in foster care in February of 2016.
I'm so sorry that you had to go through all that. Like, that breaks my heart for you and for any woman that has to deal with that.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those silent things. That's why, like, I start talking about it, and some people like look at me like, I can't believe you're talking about this right now. But it's, one of those comfort in numbers, and I feel like more people need to be talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not something to be ashamed about. It's not anything wrong with you, and there's so many people that are they just want to be a mom so bad. And adoption is very, very expensive. I went the foster care route, and I had many placements that didn't stay, and people are like, I could never do that. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you right now, neither can I. But with God, you can. And so my prayer was, okay, I know through failed relationships that you have healed my heart so many times. And I really felt like so clearly, he said, I have asked you to love these kids abundantly, unconditionally, whether they stay or whether they go, and you got to believe that I will take care of your heart. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, I showered those babies. I had a 6-year-old who, in 2 weeks' time, I mean, she had changed so many houses, and I sat her down and I was like, baby, talk to me. Why is this not working out in these houses? And it was as much as just having a simple conversation with her, to hear that when she was going to bed, when she would ask for food, kitchen's closed, you're not getting food. You can't treat a foster child who didn't know when their next meal was going to be. You can't treat them that way. And so I was like, there will always be cuties, there will always be bananas in the kitchen. I don't care what time it is, you always have access to them. I never had a problem with her.
Do you think that some of the problem is, like you said, whenever you got into adoption and foster care and like what that looked like you didn't even know like what was available from the state or from like the community. Like, you were literally going in from your heart.
Correct.
Whereas there's maybe some people that are literally, they know the program.
Right. They do it as a business. Yeah. And I also, too, some of the mistakes that foster parents make is they might have biological kids, or they might think if they had a biological kid, the rules that they would have. And you can't necessarily have foster children abide by those same rules because of the trauma that they've experienced. So yes, if we were at my brother and sister-in-law's house, the kitchen is closed at 8 o'clock because their boys would continue to either skip dinner and then come back down to not have to go to bed and use it to prolong bedtime, right? Even my child now, like, no, kitchen's closed at a certain time. You don't eat your dinner? Don't eat your dinner. You don't get to eat till the morning. We'll have that same thing ready for you in the morning, right?
Right.
You can't do that with a foster child. That's not the rules. That, you know, they've been through different things, and you just have to kind of dig and see what their story is, because you're also not given a lot of that either when they're placed with you, and just realize that they can't necessarily can't be forced to abide by the same rules.
So you don't know their story when you...
Not necessarily. Sometimes you do, but very rarely.
Got it.
And she told me, I mean, she was just, I mean, bless her heart, what we call the heel of the bread, you know, that
the cola.
She said, the butt of the bread that me and my sister used to fight over this, it's my favorite part, can I have it? And like, she just treasured that heel of the bread that I feel like I just leave there so the other piece doesn't get stale, and then you throw it away when you're done with the
right.
whole loaf.
You continue to pass it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and that was like her favorite piece, because, and they would fight over it, you know? And so you just kind of have to, and it's hard. I mean, like, I'm not knocking anybody who struggles with any of their kids that are placed with them, because it's hard. They all, you know, just like being a parent to kids. My mom said she would ground me to my room because I was so social, but she would ground my brother from his room because he liked being in there reading comic books. You know, I mean, each kid you got to do different. So foster parenting is, you know, just as hard, if not harder, because they do come with trauma in their stories, and you're trying to help them heal. And at the same time, you don't know if they're going to get to stay, you know? And so it's
like you're working through healing yourself, you know, trying to give them so much love. And then, yes, helping them heal. But then I wanted to ask you, like, that's got to break you even more after all the hurt that you already went through, that these kids went back or somewhere else that you have no idea what happened.
I really had to look at it as truly serving and doing what God asked me to do. And that's, I mean, it was like taking a job, right? Like, and not meaning taking a job as their parent, but like, God gave me this role. He's asked me to do this. He has not promised that I will not be hurt. He has told me that he would heal me if I was. And so I had to look at it as an assignment, and my job was to love them. And I can tell you, I call myself the surrendering planner. I've even registered the domain because I keep thinking one day I'm going to do something with that.
Of course she is.
But I love the whole thought process behind it, because I am a planner. I mean, that's why I love real estate, because you've got, you know, plan B, plan C, you know, you got it all. Planner as far as events, like the whole thing. And also, I mean, like, I don't know. I thought I had my whole life planned out. I'd be married by 25 and live right outside the city limits and the whole thing, and, you know, have all these kids. But in foster care, I learned that you're not in control of anything. Like, nothing. You don't know when they're going to show up at your house for a drop-in check to see how you're living. You don't know sometimes you don't even know when there's a court hearing, you know, for the parents. And I mean, like, you just don't know what's going on. And so I was driving myself crazy. I was a nervous wreck. I was like, oh, when are they going to leave? The first placement I had, there was no warning. They showed up. They said he was gone. He was going to be gone. He left on a Tuesday. I was crying every day.
Do you know why? Or you never know? You never know if they go back to their parents or where they came from?
This one was going, I was told, to a family friend. But yeah, you don't know. I don't know where they went or why or any of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what that environment's going to look like.
Right. Yeah. Right. You know, and two, you don't know if they're going to stay there, or are they going to be adopted, or are they going back? You know, and when he was placed with me, he was my very first one. Even when they placed him, I was pretty much told this was a high chance of adoption. And then they just show up and take him. So you're just not expecting it at all. And so that was on a Tuesday. They called me about my son now on a Thursday. And I remember sitting exactly where I was sitting. I was in a Lowe's parking lot. And I was like, I mean, I'm still crying every day. Like, I don't know that I'm okay to take on another one right now. And he ended up being in the hospital for quite a while. And I would leave my house to go to the hospital during visiting hours, and on my drive to the hospital be crying because I was still sad that the first one had left, and then I was sad of everything he was having to go through in the hospital. It was heartbreaking. And so yeah, there was a lot of emotions, and I had no control over any of it. And so I really had to say, okay, Lord, I am obeying you, and I have no clue what's going on, and I am going to trust that you are in control of this, even when it doesn't feel like it, and even when my heart is breaking in two. Like, you are going to be there for me. And he was, and he came through in mighty ways. Like the biggest testimony of that we have. I mean, it happened on my birthday. Like, really? How more could you be like, okay, God, I see that you're giving me gifts. Turn the entire case around. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, just so many things that, those testimonies where they're so powerful that there's no denying that it was God, I mean, that's what happened through our whole case. And so yeah, it's just, every day and sometimes hourly, I had to remind myself, okay, I'm surrendering. Okay, yeah, I'm not in control of this. God's in control of this. There were so many times where I just had to walk through my days like that of like, okay, I'm surrendering. Yes, it's in my nature to plan, but I have no control over this, but God is in control. God is in control. And I just had to remind myself of that like all the time.
So what was it like the moment that you got... I'm just still trying to map out like everything that you went through and like the joyous smile that you have on your face right now. It's just like infectious. But I'm thinking I'm wondering, what was it like the moment that you actually got the phone call that your son is now your son? Like, you can adopt him. Like, what did that feel like?
Yeah. So you still, even after we went to court and like the judge looked at me and said, okay, there's no returns. He's yours. I mean, I can honestly, for a couple months after that, you still you can't let your guard down. You're still kind of like, are they going to come and want to take him? Or are they going to tell me this was, like there's still this part of you that doesn't really believe it. Like, you're super excited, and I threw a big old party, and I mean, it was like, it probably had over 100 guests, like probably what a wedding would be like. People came from Nashville, people came from Washington, D.C. I mean, like, people flew in for it. I mean, it was a big deal. And still, at the end of the day, I was like, is there something that could change this, kind of thing. But now it's not, now it's like, oh my goodness, but for the first couple months, it's really hard to believe.
Almost like PTSD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you're like, you had to been walking on it, or thinking like walking on eggshells all the time, and having those moments, for a while that doesn't go away.
Yeah. It does. It's really just not only that, but when God answers a prayer and you're like, I just can't believe that happened. I mean, there's just that part of that, where you're just in awe, kind of thing. And so I think that probably describes it the most, of just looking back and going, I consider myself a professional planner. Like, I think I'm pretty good at it. I mean, I don't like tooting my own horn, but I know how to plan. And you look back and you go, I couldn't have planned it like that. Like, he did so much better. Like, he is definitely the master planner. And to think, and so I tried now to apply that to my entire life, right? Think of all the places in your life where you're holding a grip on that and you're not really surrendering, and how many times we get in our own way. So then it was like, oh, wow, I saw you take care and answer my biggest prayer, I feel like, of my entire life, besides a partner, right? But even to me, being a mom is even more important to me than that. And that was a decision I had to make when I decided, to be a mom. And so when I think of my finances or my career or, any of those kind of wishes and dreams that you still kind of hold on to, right? Like, maybe if I totally surrendered them instead of sitting holding them, and I did do this and say, okay, I'm laying them at your feet, what could he do? Is it because I'm holding onto them and I keep getting in my own way that nothing's happening? And I'm sitting here going, why are you not doing this? And he's like, well, if you just let go of it, like, how many things in our life are we blaming him for not answering, but we really haven't given them to him to be in control of?
Yeah, that I love this. And so I'm curious, it was your career and then it was motherhood, and now you're stepping into this new role. So like, what are some modalities, you know, beyond prayer that you're doing for yourself on a daily basis to remind yourself to surrender and to remind yourself like it's going to be okay?
Mainly prayer, staying in the Word, and then also I'm very musical, so praise and worship music, any kind of just even what is the new Jelly Roll, and there's a new Jelly Roll, and yes, right. I mean, in the beginning where it's like everything about it, I feel like I can relate to, because it's just like, yeah, when life's not going your way, you know, you're just giving them that broken, raw hallelujah, even when you don't feel like things are going your way, right? I mean, we all have pity days. I mean, I have a lot. I mean, as moms, like, I take a lot of showers where I just cry to hide it, you know, because I don't want him to see me that way. But I think always back to, he healed my broken heart, you know, so many times. And so, and there are times where I'm like, I really don't know what you're up to, because none of this makes sense. But I always go back to that fostering and how so much of it didn't make sense. And when you look back at it now, the things he was putting into place the whole time to make it all work out, that I really wish I had walked through that so much sooner in life. Music, I really do.
Music has always definitely been
my therapy.
100%. And she listens to the words of music. I mean, she can hear a song one time and pretty much know the words, you know, and she takes them in. Me, I listen to the beat. And
which a lot of people do.
May I ask you a question? Like, are you both like,
sure,
talking what you're saying? So I had a quote, and I think we've talked about it before, is on another podcast with Holly, but I was saying that sad people hear the words, happy people feel the beat.
Could be.
I don't know. Yeah, she just always, and God love her, Michelle, listen to these words. Michelle, listen to this song, listen to these words.
But you know what's funny is most of my closest friends are exactly like that. Yeah. They'll be like singing these words, and I'll look at them. I actually just saw like a video, a short like reel or something on. So oh yes, it was yesterday. I'll have to find it. But it's this girl, and they were like, we all need a friend like this that can. She got in the car and she goes, why are you listening to that? And she was like, I normally listen to praise and worship music, but when we're about to go out, like, I just want to get, you know, in the mood, and I just went hyped. That's what she kept saying, actually, I think. And she was like, yeah, but that's your flesh. What about your heart? Like, your brain is hearing that, and you're not letting let the Lord hype you. That's where your energy should be coming from, you know? And like the whole time the girl was really trying to get her friend like riled up. Like, what's the whole purpose of it, you know? And she didn't realize it, but she just kept every reason she had for listening to the music to be hyped. She was like, we'll just sit here in silence, and like, I don't want my flesh to be hearing that stuff. Can we just sit here in silence? And her friend was like, no, we can't sit. We're going out. We got to get hyped. And she's like, you're going to have to ride in this car by yourself then, you know? And I'm not that far by, but I listen to the words. So there's so many times growing up that I'm like, y'all know what that song's saying? And they're like, nope. And then I'm like, this song is saying, they're like, oh, I had no idea they're out murdering people in this song.
Yeah, I've seen the reels that are like, I was this old when I actually learned what it said. I love those.
Yeah. So, but yeah, music has always been my therapy. I do love melodies, but like, and there's a couple songs out right now that my son listens to, and I'm like, I just love the way this makes me feel. It makes kind of like The Greatest Showman, like, you know, like I want to get up and like dance, and I don't know how to dance, but it makes me want to dance. So there are songs that make me feel that way, but really the lyrics are what give me inspiration. Like, I feel like that's how God talks to me a lot. Like, I'll get in the car and I might be worried about this or upset about this, and then I turn it on and I'm like, okay, I hear you. Like, that exact song comes on that I needed to hear.
That's funny, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like he answers me a lot of ways through song. So,
are you still writing music?
I do sometimes. Heartbreaks like help me so much with writing songs, and I've made sure that has not happened in a while. So
yes, you have.
By just not partaking in anything. So yeah, I have written. I started like right out of college, my own publishing company and stuff, but haven't really done anything with it other than write it for myself. So kind of my therapy too, just get it out. So
I like you.
Thank you. I like you too.
No, like you have such an incredible story, and like you have more journeys to tell. I know that you will, and you know you're going to have your event center, and you're going to have amazing things that you're going to be doing in our community and for everybody else, you know, in here in our life and everything. So, congratulations! Great job.
I mainly just want to encourage other people and other women for sure. And even if it's just like, hey, I'm struggling with this, can you add me to your prayer list? I mean, prayer warriors got me through my entire adoption and motherhood journey. And so I just want to give that back and encourage, you know, people to go after what they want and not let fear get in that way or think, oh, I don't have the ideal situation to be able to do that. Or, you know, I don't know that I could do that. That would be too difficult. Yeah, most of the time what you're supposed to do is really hard. But that's where you lean on your village. And that was the other thing. I mean, God put people in my life that weren't in my life when I started. You know, he brings people in that help you, you know. And so if you really lean on him and the people that you know and really dig and pray, I mean, you'll see it happen for sure.
Divine timing is a thing.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you, like about your amazing gifts that you offer to the world, whether it be, you know, do you have like multiple websites?
So I'm working on that right now. It's one of the things I'm working on the brand. But right now it's just Big Hearted Realty Group, and then all my contact information's on there, and there's a place to reach out. I have a website for Big Hearted Babes, but I really don't advertise for Big Hearted Babes because you know, artists will participate in one and then they just kind of reach out to me. Like I don't really have to do a whole lot to get my name out for that. So I can't even tell you the last time it's been updated. Like kind of embarrassed to tell anybody to even go there. So
well, when you build your reputation, you know, those things that you do that to like build yourself, and you built that stance, so you're good.
Yeah. So
thank you.
But thank you for having me.
No, seriously, thank you for coming on. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
All right.
And we didn't talk about our childhood friendship the whole time. I
was like, a little bit.
Well, yeah, no, it's good. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's on you, boo.
No. No, I just didn't want it to turn into the Deanna and Michelle's, you know, lifelong friendship show. But I was like, we don't even need to worry about that. She's got so much to talk about.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
this is great.
Thank you for having me.
So if you want to reach out to us or maybe just reach out to her and get her contact information, you can find us at texastrioteam.com. After that story, I think we all just need to take a moment to just be grateful for what we have and just, you know that divine timing is a thing. So give yourself patience and give yourself love, and you have a big community that loves you. And thank you so much for tuning in. Take care and keep living your best life.